All right, and our next guest here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com Radio, was a finalist in Bellator Season 8 lightweight tournament. He comes with a stellar 14-5 record, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions. It is lightweight Saad Awad. How are we doing today, Saad?
Hey, I'm doing great.
I know we had a little problem there trying to get this going here with the service on your cell phone provider. I won't make you say who it is, but maybe it's time to go with a different cell phone if you got to go outside to make a phone call.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in Las Vegas right now. I was at the Bellagio, and I don't know what was going on. So I was trying to answer, and it wouldn't answer it. So I ran outside right now. But I'll have to interview later. But yeah, it's my call.
Oh, don't worry about it. No big deal. You're at the Bellagio. You doing any gambling?
Trying not to.
You don't want to give your money away too much, right?
Not yet, at least.
Now, you've been fighting for some time now. What got you into fighting?
I've been asked this question a bunch of times. Yeah, I kind of walked into a gym by accident. I have a little brother that was getting into trouble at the time, about 8 years ago, and he liked to fight. So I said, okay, you want to fight? I'm going to sign you up in a boxing gym. And the only gym I could find in the area was the MMA gym. So I stumbled into one by accident, and he was like, I'm not training by myself unless you stay with me. I was like, all right, cool. And one thing led to another. I saw my first pro fight like 3 months after training.
So really, you have your brother to thank for your run and success and your now profession.
Yeah, you can say
that. Now, how does the rest of the family feel about you fighting?
My dad was against it at first because he was like, you got to work, you have your future ahead of you. You don't want to stop playing games. He thought it was just a sport, like I was just doing it for fun. And I kept telling him like, hey, I'm pretty good. When I first started, I was like, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty athletic, and I don't know how soon money's gonna come in, but like I love doing it. So when you do something you love, you do it, really good. You give it your all. So I knew sooner or later it would pay off. And after some time, he gave up telling me to quit. So finally, I finally got to tell him like, hey, I'm finally making money doing this. So he's excited about it.
Now, when I talk to fighters, they always tell me the same thing when I ask, hey, how's your family feel about it? Usually they'll always say, my mom's my number one fan, but my dad was against it. And then when he started seeing that I'm doing well in it, then he started to accept it. It's funny when it's always the dad that it seems like they're like, maybe you should think about doing something other than something that results in you getting punched in the face for a living.
Yeah, it's funny. So you'd think you'd be the mom, but no, yeah, you're right. It's the complete opposite. My mom was all for like, oh, cool, my son fights, and then my dad was like, no, go to work. You're wasting your time.
Yeah, right. Now, you going into the Season 8 lightweight tournament, you were riding a streak that most people would be jealous of. You had won 6 in a row, and you had finished every one of your opponents. You had 4 KO by 4 wins. 4 of your 6 wins were by KO or TKO. The other 2 were by submission. Only one of those fights got out of the first round. I know you got to be humble when you have a streak like that, but man, that's impressive. Were you impressed with yourself?
You know what? It's funny is I never really noticed it. Like, I know it's weird to say that. It could be probably I'm lying, but I never really noticed my streak until people started bringing it up. Like, hey, after I knocked out, Brooks, they're like, hey, man, you're on a 6-fight winning streak with all finishes and blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, my record's still, it's actually 15 and 4 at the time, but it says 14-4. But at the time. And I was like, well, my record's still not what I want it to be. So I wasn't looking at my streak. I was looking at just building my record because I'm not happy with my record. I never really caught my eye that, hey, I'm on a pretty good streak right now. You know what I mean? I was just more about, let me keep winning so I can build my record and get up to the 20s and 4 or 20s to 5. Then I can be a little bit happier.
Now you said your record's 15-5 now?
Yeah. They're missing one of my older fights.
Oh, okay.
A couple years back.
So SureDog and Wikipedia, they need to get on top of their game, right?
Yeah, SureDog actually, I told them about it. They're like, okay, just give me the information. And, I called the organization. I was like, hey, can you give me the fight card that I fought on? I'm like, oh, okay, I will get back to you. And they never did.
Oh.
So it's not SureDog. It's the organization never, sent it in.
So you have a phantom win out there.
Oh yeah, just hanging out there somewhere, right?
Right? No, exactly.
You know, it's funny. It's a first round submission too.
so it's not only is it a victory, but it's a finish.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's crazy. Again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, again, you're coming into the finals on that huge winning streak. You're feeling good. Again, you know, what I think, like I said, only one of those fights came out of the first round, and then not only that, but like 3 of your fights ended in the first, or 4 of your fights ended within the first minute. So you were seriously dominating people, like I just said. But you go into the fight, and then the first round, you look just like you did in the previous 6 fights, dominating everywhere the fight went. And then the second round came. What happened?
Well, I broke my hand in the first round. I'm sure, you know, everybody already knows. You know, I broke it early into the first round, so I started wrestling a little bit. And then, you know, I told my corners again, because it happened before. You know, when I fought back in Strikeforce, I broke my hand too in the first round. And I remember telling my corners, like, hey, my hand's broke. And they thought I was just being, you know, I was just tired. They're like, nope, you're doing good. Go back out there. You know, so they sent me back out, and then I ended up losing that fight. So it happened again this time. So I told my coach, like, hey, dude, my hand's broke again. You know, same hand, you know. And he looked at me, he's like, oh, shoot, you know, we're going to, you know, just, okay, now let's just wrestle him. You know, you're winning with your wrestling. Just go take him down and try not to use it. But in between rounds, like, you know, I caught my win, and my adrenaline really went down, and I just felt pain. But it really sucked, you know what I mean? But I went out there, and I wrestled, you know, my ass off just to try to steal the round, and, you know, I stole it. And then 10 seconds, you know, into the last 10 seconds of the second round, you know, I get dropped, and I guess the referee thought I wasn't able to get back up, so decided to call a fight.
Now, that I wanted to ask you about, that was actually the next thing I want to talk to you about, is that, again, you dominated the first round. You easily won it against David Rickels there at the Bellator Season 8 Lightweight Tournament Finals. And again, you lost by TKO, and it was at the very end of the second round. And there was a lot of controversy about the way it ended, because it was with less than 10 seconds left in the round that you got dropped, and then the referee came over and felt that you couldn't continue. Could you continue?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was winded. I'm not gonna say I wasn't tired. I had never been dropped in my life, so you know, I remember it in slow motion. So I remember getting hit and then just falling and thinking like, shit, I gotta catch my legs, you know. And I tried catching my legs and I couldn't catch them. And I was like, wow, I'm hurt, and it was all slow motion to me. I remember falling. I remember hearing the bell as I'm falling, and then thinking like, thank God the bell just rang, because I just got dropped, and then hitting the floor and face planting, you would say, you know. And then I was like, cool, round ended, my hand broke, I'm tired as hell, and I have one more round before winning this $100,000. You know, I can run around and do whatever I got to do. So let me rest, catch as much breath as I can, or much air as I can until my coaches come in. And then, you know what I mean, then we're going to do one more round and, you know, walk away with the, you know, fat check. And, you know, I thought, you know, putting my hand behind my head was enough to say, like, hey, I'm chilling, you know what I mean, like, what's up? And the referee came up and just looked at me and just called the fight. So, I mean, I thought he should have at least warned me, like, hey, get up or I'm going to call the fight. Like, or I thought, you know, when the bell's done, it's done or something, you know. But I guess, I mean, either I don't know the rules or he doesn't know the rules. But I think it was a shitty call.
And now, I watched the fight, and I guess everybody was under the same assumption, is that the referee said something to you. You know, obviously we don't have, they're not mic'd. I really think that that's something that MMA, all organizations start doing, is miking the referee, so you can hear exactly what he's saying. But because everybody assumed that he asked you something and you didn't respond. Now, seeing you laying on the ground with your hand behind your head, it's like, okay. And then he must have said something, and then you didn't respond, and he called the fight. So you're telling me that he didn't say anything to you, he just looked at you and he said, you're done.
Yeah, he didn't say anything to me. He looked at me, he waved his hand, and then I told him, you know, like, what the hell? And he was like, no, fight's done. I was like, what do you mean fight's done? Like, there's another round. And he's like, no, you didn't get up. And I was like, well, you didn't tell me to get up. I didn't know. I don't think anywhere in the rule book says you have to get up. Like, I've seen people get pummeled, and then the bell ring, and the corners have to come and, like, drag them to their corner and put them on the stool, throw water on their face to wake them up, you know? But I guess, you know, on his discretion, I don't know if he thought that I was hurt or what, or just winded. You know, I know I was extremely tired. You know what I mean? I had wrestled for 2 rounds. My adrenaline was going. My hand was broke, and and I just got dropped, and I hadn't been dropped ever. So it's like, it was like all like a clusterfuck. Sorry, but you know what I mean?
Right.
Going on in my head. So maybe I didn't look right. Maybe I didn't look right. Maybe he thought, it was his call to make the judgment that I didn't look, that I could continue. But I thought, putting my hands behind my head said enough. Like, hey, I'm tired, and I'm just gonna rest here for a second. And that's the reason why I put my hands behind my head. I think if I was incoherent, I would have laid there the way I was, face down. But you know what I mean? And then if I was laying there face down, like the way I fell, and he came and called the fight, and then I tried to get up and fight it, then I would understand. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I was out. I'm not gonna argue that. But like I rolled over, I put my hand behind my head, and I was trying to catch my breath, waiting for my corners to come in, which they didn't let in right away for some odd reason. I've never seen corners or I've never seen them not open a gate right after the bell ring to let your corners in. Like, I've never seen that unless the doctor comes in to check the fighter, which the doctor did not come in to check the fighter. The ref just called it. Then after that, they let everybody in. So I don't know what's up with what was going on or what the deal was, but I feel like I got screwed. But I guess it's my fault for not getting up.
Now, there's been a lot of controversy with referees and their stopping, and it seems like sometimes because of that, what will happen is you'll see some fights go too long. You'll see fighters taking shots that they shouldn't take because referees are getting a little nervous about being questioned about whether or not they should have stopped the fight or they shouldn't have stopped the fight. Do you think there will ever be a happy medium there? Because obviously you feel like you got screwed, and from the way you're telling the story, you did get screwed. If you could have continued and the referee didn't ask, hey, can you continue? I think that should be the first thing a fighter should be asked. Hey, can you continue? But do you think there will ever be a happy medium with the referee and being able to on those judgment calls?
I definitely, I don't think so, to be honest. There's so many things that could go wrong in the MMA fight. From anything, from an eye gouge to grabbing the cage to whatever. So I really don't think it's ever going to be a happy medium, Because there's always going to be something that's going to go wrong. And someone's always going to disagree against something. Even you see people get knocked out cold and then wake up and disagree that they were knocked out until they have to go back and watch the tape. But I do think they should have instant replays. And I do think that they can't, because once the referee makes a call, in MMA, they stick to it. It's done. You can't change it. You have to go to the commission if you want to try to get it changed. But I do think they should change that and add an instant replay. So if the referee does make a wrong call, they can stop, go back, and look at the instant replay, have 3 judges on the side and make their final decision on what happened, if they're going to go with the referee's decision or not. Because if it's a big decision like that, where it's costing people a lot of money, it wasn't like I was fighting for $1,000. I was fighting for a lot of money. Not only that, I was fighting also for a fight show purse against Chandler, plus a win bonus against Chandler. So it wasn't just the money for the tournament. It was also money for the next fight, for a title fight. Not only that, it's for the World Championship, fight, which is a huge fight, which some people never get in their lives. You know what I mean? So it's like, it wasn't just a bad call just based on the tournament. It was a bad call based on the future of my fighting, which I do think I'm going to get another chance to get there. But now I have to find my ass off to get back to where I was, on that streak that I was in. So I think, it really, screwed me. But, so I think, if they had like a instant replay, maybe they could come back and listen to it or whatever, and then make a decision. I think it would be a lot better.
Now, that's an interesting take on it, because I have heard people talk about getting an instant replay going. And again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Latenight Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. And I've heard people say, hey, let's get an instant replay. But now, the only problem that I have with the whole instant replay thing is, let's say that they go in, they look at the instant replay, and they say, how would that have worked on in your case? Because if they go and look and say, oh, well, he didn't do anything, he could have kept going, and let's say it's like 5-10 minutes before they make this decision, you then have David Rickels saying, hey, wait a second, I heard him at the end of that round, and you guys gave him an extra 5 minutes, 5-7 minutes to recover from that, and now I have a whole different fighter that I have against me.
You're absolutely right. But then since they don't have it, now David Rickels is sitting at home with a fat-ass check and waiting for his championship fight that I don't think he deserves when he lost 2 rounds and got a bad call and won the fight. You gotta look at it that way also.
Right. You know what? I agree with you completely. And it's kind of a devil's advocate, and I get where you're coming from. And I definitely feel bad for you in the sense of that, if that fight could have continued, I felt you won the first round. The second round you were winning it throughout the entire second round until the whole dropping. And referee judges can be so weird. Look at this last weekend. I don't know if you saw the fights. They gave that fight to Rafael Dos Anjos, even though Evan Dunham, basically, in my eyes, I thought he won all 3 rounds. So, either way, that should have went to a third round, and that would have been something that we all would have loved because you guys were having a good fight. It was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. But honestly, it did seem, and you've said it, that you did start to fatigue late in the second round. Do you think that that's not just because you broke your hand, but also because you had to fight 3 times in 3 months?
Kind of. I know why I started depleting, and I'm not considering give all the excuses in the world for it. You know what I mean? But if I was able to train better for the fight, you know what I mean? Because coming into the tournament, I wasn't even able to train the way I should have trained. But if I was able to train the way I should have trained, I would have been in better condition, and I would have been able to, to compete a lot harder. So I think that had a lot to do with it. But about the fighting in 3 months, you saw I fought a total of, a little over a minute in 2 fights. So I don't think it really took anything from me besides, the wearing down of the training, and you do need breaks between training camps to kind of let your body recover just from the training, not even the fights. Like, I don't know how Rickels did it. He had 2 wars coming up into my fight. And he still, managed to push through. He still pushes through every round like he does the first and second round, first, second, and third round. So it's not just about the beating or whatever your body takes during the fight. I think, like you said, it's more about the training camp you have going into the fight and have to go through another training camp back to back, 3 training camps.
Now, the fact that you guys in Bellator, when you guys go into tournaments, you have to fight like we've been talking here, that you got to fight 3 times, and obviously, the big issue right now that's coming up, and it came up again this weekend, is TRT.
Mm-hmm.
With Vitor Belfort beats Luke Rockhold, and instead of being able to relish in his victory, he has to start answering questions on the fact that he takes TRT. What are your thoughts on TRT? Do you think it's okay? I know it's legal, but just from a personal, professional aspect, do you think that fighters should be allowed to use the exemption?
I personally don't think so. I know, some people are, they need it. I think some fighters need it because they're not, they don't have it as much as in their body as regular fighters do, so they need it to compete at the level. You know what I mean? To be able to be even. But then again, any doctor can write any fighter a prescription to say that they need it. Unless I think if the doctors at the, UFC or whoever the organization is has their own doctors that are going to check you out and say, okay, we need to put you on this because it's not fair. You know what I mean? Then maybe it'll make sense, but I personally don't think it's fair. Everybody has problems that they have to deal with, whether it's with that or whether it's whatever it is. Some people are just slower than other people. You don't see them, taking some kind of drug just to make them faster. You know what I mean? Like mentally. So I just don't. I don't think it's fair. I love Vitor Belfort. Don't get me wrong; he's my favorite fighter in the world. But I just don't think it's fair.
Right, yeah, and that's a lot. That's what a lot of fighters are saying. Luke Rockhold, his opponent, was a big proponent of saying that. Hey, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right. Now, another drug that's been coming up, obviously, and been in the news a lot in the last couple of weeks is is marijuana. Obviously, Pat Healy, but he tested positive for marijuana after his fight with Jim Miller. He got his fight bonus taken away. He got his submission of the night taken away. Brian Caraway took the submission of the night and took a lot of heat over it. Let's put yourself in that position. With you're in Brian Caraway's position. Would you have accepted the fight of the not the fight of the night, but the submission of the night bonus? Taking it away from a fighter who did test positive for marijuana, not any other drug, but marijuana.
To be honest, it's you know what I mean. It's hard to say. You got to put yourself in that position. If you're dead broke and somebody offers you a $65,000 check, like, hey, he screwed up for taking it from him or giving it to you, and everybody's gonna react different. You know what I mean? Like, if you have money and it doesn't make that much of an effect on your life, And you see this guy that, you know what I mean, Pat Healy, you know, time back in UFC, and he finally gets that big check. And you see it all get taken away from him. And if he's dead broke, I think the fair thing, at least fair thing, if anything, split it with the dude. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you know, you deserved it. I know they took it away from you, but the way Caraway went off about it, and he was like, oh, I never smoked weed. I never did this. It's so bad. It's so this stuff. When in reality, it's really not. You know what I mean? I don't smoke, but I just know it's not. You know, and I don't think he should have went off and popped off in the mouth like the way he did, just to make the other fighters look bad. Because a lot of people smoke weed because a lot of people need to smoke weed. Rather than taking Vicodins for pain or Norco, then becoming addicted to those painkillers. And then if you know you're not fighting anymore because you're addicted to painkillers, and we've all seen fighters go through it before, and then next you know, people saying it's their fault for getting addicted to them, when in reality it's not. Because they're, you know, they get injured fighting or whatever the reason is, so they decide to smoke weed so they don't get addicted to these pills. So it's kind of like, it depends how you look at it.
Do you think that marijuana should be taken off of the banned list?
I don't know, you know, because if you smoke a lot of marijuana, it increases your mind, you know what I mean? It increases your training. Like, people that do smoke that don't, like, actually fight, but they train, they say they could train for hours without getting tired while they're high or on marijuana. So I don't think it's fair. I don't think anything that's going to change your mental mind state is fair if it's going to make you train longer or train harder than the average human being will, because it's not fair, because I don't smoke. So, you know what I mean? I'm nothing against the people that do. If you need to and you have to because you're sick or you're ill or whatever it is, you know what I mean, then so be it. That's your own reason, you know what I mean? But, like, if you don't really need to and you're just doing it for fun and it's helping you, like kind of like taking steroids or therapy or whatever, you know, then I think it's not fair. So I don't know. It depends how you look at it. Like, I'm not against it, but I wouldn't want some guy that's been smoking, you know, every day and full of cardio because he was smoking, believe it or not, and then he beats me because of that. It would suck, you know?
Right. Again, we're talking to Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. Now, how is the rehab going with the broken hand? I mean, have you been able to start contact yet, or are you still rehabbing it?
You know what? I haven't got cleared yet, but I haven't been able to punch yet. But I started my cardio, you know, and after my hand, I got surgery on my nose too, because I guess my nose was broke, and I wasn't sure if it was broken. I just knew it hurt. And I went to the doctor. He was like, "Hey, you need surgery." So I ended up getting surgery on my nose too. So that's still healing too. So I started my cardio, but I haven't been able to roll or spar quite yet.
So do we know what's next for you? Has Bellator talked to you about what's up next? Or, I mean, do you have any clue, or are you just taking time right now and getting healthy?
Right now I'm just taking time getting healthy. I mean, they told me just be ready because we have something coming up in September, but they haven't told me exactly what yet because they can't release what yet, you know. And they said as soon as we get close to the date, we'll let you know exactly what's going to happen, you know. But I know they just said make sure I'm ready by September, and I should be cleared, you know. I should be cleared soon. You know, probably the next week or two. I know I won't be cleared for my nose to take punches, but he did tell me I'll be able to, you know, do cardio and whatnot, so at least I get my wind up. My hand, hopefully I'll get cleared too within the next week or two. But, yeah, so hopefully in September. They didn't tell me exactly what, but should be something good.
Excellent. It would definitely be fun to see you in the ring again, Sayed. I mean, I love watching you fight. You got some just really good striking. You have an overall great game, to be honest with you. I think you're underrated. I don't think that you get enough accolades that you deserve. And I'm really glad that things fell into place for you to get into the Season 8 lightweight tournament, because then you got to showcase your skill set and be able to get into that prime time with Bellator and show people what you really have. And like I said, I'm really glad that you got that chance.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited about it too. You know, it's bittersweet about, you know, breaking my hand, but it kind of reminded me that, hey, I don't have to just try to knock people out. I could go out there and I could wrestle, and I could show people that I could wrestle with one hand and still wrestle and manage to do good. And, you know, a lot of people were downing me. You know, even coming into the finals, a lot of people were saying, oh, you know, those are lucky hits, lucky this, lucky that, which, you know, it's not that I care so much what people say, but then again, it kind of does bug you when, you know what I mean, you have half the people saying, oh, well, you got a lucky punch, you got lucky this, or lucky that. So I was kind of happy that I got to go in there, kind of showcase my wrestling, and, you know, I'm really looking forward to getting back in the ring and, you know, showcasing a lot more. You know, I have an awesome jiu-jitsu game that, you know, I would love to, you know, show off too, and you know, add to my arsenal.
I'll tell you what, people who tell that you got lucky with those punches, there's two things that I would respond to them. And I know that you have to be, careful how you react to people and fans and stuff like that. But there's two things that I would say to anybody who says that you got lucky. One, you can only get lucky so many times. When you start knocking people out in the first round, in the first minute, and it's up to like 5-6 times in your career, that's not luck. And if they say it's lucky, then you know what I tell them? You know what luck is? It's where hard work and opportunity meet. That's what it is. You put in the hard work and the opportunity was there. So if you want to call that luck, sure enough, then I guess that's luck. All right. We end the interview the same way every time, Saad. We end it with a 10-second knockout. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You just give me your one-word answers, and we're gonna get it going here. Are you ready?
Awesome. Let's go.
All right. What's your favorite movie?
Pulp Fiction.
Favorite food?
Pasta. Pizza.
Pasta pizza. Okay. Is it maybe pizza with pasta on top? All right.
Yeah. After weigh-ins, yeah.
What age did you get into your first fight?
I was scared to fight, man. I would say 14.
14. All right. If you could fight one historical figure, who would it be?
I don't know. I never thought about that.
I got you.
Yeah. I like to fight Sean Shirk. He's not really historical, but...
Sean Shirk? That would be interesting.
Yeah.
I actually just interviewed him not too long ago.
It's because his fighting style, he likes to be like, yeah, I like to fight him.
All right. If you were stranded on an island, what's the one item you would take with you?
Stranded on water. Cell phone.
What was that?
Cell phone.
Well, your cell phone's not going to work on an island.
Oh, man.
But hey, at least you know what? You know what you'll have? You have the games. You got the games on the phone until it dies, and then now you have a nice...
I'm screwed.
All right. Say, thank you so much for coming on here and giving us the time here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio. We always appreciate talking to fighters and the time that you give to us. And so what we do is, in return, we give the time right back to you. You take as much as you want, as much time as you want right now, Saad. You go ahead, thank your sponsors, thank your family, your friends, whatever you want. This time is yours, and you have as much as you want of it.
You know, I'm not going to take too much time. I just want to say thank you guys for, having me on. Without you guys, I wouldn't be able to get my name out there. Before nobody was interviewing me, and, nobody knew who I was either. So, first off, I want to say thank you guys for taking the time to interview me. There's a million of fighters out there you guys could have interviewed. And also thanks to, my coaches down at Millennia, Romy and Batiste and all the guys over there and all my training partners over there, especially Georgie Carpanian, he's a big, name that's an unsigned talent that needs to be signed ASAP because, the kid's not getting any younger. And thanks to my family, for keep supporting me, and I'm going to keep fighting and, keep doing what I do.
Hey, well said, Saad. I really appreciate it. I love talking to you. You're a well-spoken man, and I think that your accolades are coming, man, and you deserve it. You deserve every bit of it. You're a talented fighter, and I love watching you fight, and I can't wait to see you in the ring again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, man. I can't wait to interview after my next win, too. I'll get interviewed by you after my next win also.
All right. That sounds great. You have an open invitation to come on Late Night Cageside anytime, brother.
All right, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. You have a good night.
All right, you too.
And that is Saad Awad from Bellator lightweight. He says he's 15-5. He's got a phantom win out there. Just amazing what this guy can do in the ring. He's fun to watch, entertaining fighter. It was unfortunate that his fight ended with a controversial loss against David Rickels in the Season 8 lightweight tournament. They were putting on a great fight. He felt that he won the first 2 rounds. Getting dropped the way he got dropped in the end of the second round might have stolen the round for David Rickels. Either way, though, it would have been decided in that 3rd round. And, to take that opportunity away from somebody, a $100,000 check, and like he said, not just a $100,000 check, but an opportunity to fight, Chandler, to fight for the bonuses and everything that that came with that victory. To take that away from him in a controversial loss, it's just really unfortunate. But like I said, he's a talented fighter, and this isn't me just blowing smoke out there. I really think that he's a fun fighter to watch. Watch some of his old fights, man, on YouTube. Look him up. He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He's skilled. He's got an all-around great game. Again, that was Saad Awad here on Late Night Cageside, powered by BJPenn.com radio, and we really appreciate him taking the time to talk to us.